Здравствуйте. Ну, конечно, после такой...
After such a good section, so a live section about oil and gas, we will also we will be maybe boring and not interesting. Accelerators, venture financing, and so on. But hello, my name is Grigory Leshenko. I'm an investment director of Huawei. We are looking for companies, startups, mostly technologies in Russia and Eastern Europe. Some people ask me, what about Huawei? How are you doing? We are good. In our research center, we have about 3,000 people. And we want to expand. We need 1,000 more people. We have 5 cities location in our offices in 5 cities. Novosibirsk, Kazan, also new offices, and we'll continue to develop. We are gathering all talented scientists, researchers, and developers. We do research. We don't adapt anything, just research. It can work or won't work. We're looking for startups in deep tech, in a good spectrum, from VR, ending up with hardware, safety, networks, virtualization, clouds, everything. So we are looking for all directions. We need startups or mature companies, so we need the companies which develop technologies. And I often face with, and colleagues also invite me, I face different startups who try to earn money. They develop solutions which we can sell. We can sell to Yandex, to Sber, to Mail.ru, to banks, and to MTC, for example. This we don't need, unfortunately. We don't need technologies, for example, to recognize products on shelves, or we don't need technologies regarding voice recognition or chatbots. We have it already. We need new approaches, ideas. We don't look at metrics, business metrics. We are not interested in a number of customers, which you have, your revenue. We are mostly interested in ideas, your brains, your products, and we help you at any level. We offer money, and of course we offer our experience, our vision of what's going on at the international markets and where the global trends are going. Because some startups, they are like cats, blind cats. They come to us and they don't know what to do. But we say, we already invented this 3 years ago. We don't need it anymore. Of course, you are good, but we don't need it now. So startups sometimes don't understand what the market needs, what we need. We'll speak about how you can go into Accelerator. Accelerator is like the first stage. Then you attract money from the investors, and we have an accelerator. We try to do it. I can speak about it. It's quite special because we don't pay attention to business metrics or to market. To the market, we work with startups. We give them money, investor, and we don't buy a lot of companies, 5-10%, but we give money for them to work, for them not to have the need to go to the market and start earning. We support them, and guys work with our labs, and if they have new ideas, we also develop their technologies together with us, with our clues, with an access to our experts. Chinese and Europeans, and we have like an incubator. And maybe I've seen all the companies at the market which exist now, and we were set so that it's high time to go from philosophy of hunter to the philosophy of farmer. And now we are like farmers. Okay, so let's get introduced ourselves. Startups, please raise your hands. And who already who already tried to go to Accelerator but were not taken, were not given money? Raise your hands, please. Okay, we'll tell you why. What was the reason? And what about corporate representatives? Are there anything who want to introduce the accelerators to beyond? Do you have such representatives? Of course. Okay, so you won't work successfully without accelerators because everybody has it, and you should have it. And I want to give the floor to. First of all, I will introduce our participants, Ben Gilad. He is the head of the joint network and also the business accelerator of startups. He will also say a few words. After him, we'll give a floor to Natalia Martimyanova. She is the head of the team of scouting. She's an expert. Natalia Mendus, she is an executive director of the Center of Financial Technologies Development. Renata Dzhordzh, she is the head of management of MKB. Islam Midov, the director of Venture Foundation MTS. Okay, let's first speak to Ben.
Hi everyone, thank you for having me.
About what you do. And give us the competitive advantages. Why we should work with you? Sell it to us.
Okay, so I did not know that I'm coming on a sales pitch, but yeah, let me give you, a few words about what we're doing in the TATA Consultancy Services and what we're doing in particularly with our business accelerator. So the thing is this, our accelerator is a little different than the typical accelerator that you will find out there. We do not invest in terms that we don't put money and we don't get equity. But what we do is that we group up, I would say, a small number of startups from different parts of the world, by the way. So we are working in the different ecosystems, all the way from, the Silicon Valley in the US through Central Europe, UK, Israel, India, and so on and so forth. Obviously, Europe, including Russia and what used to be like the eastern part of Europe. The thing is that we are taking, let me take a step back. Due to the fact that we have a lot of market visibility, that we're working, we are the leading IT services company in the world. We're working with a lot of big corporates. We understand the market requirements. We know exactly what is needed out there by our customers from the different domains, the different industries. We know what banks need. We know what retailers need. Sometimes we know how to cross-pollinize between technology that is good for banking, but can be also good for energy and resources, for the energy and resources sector, et cetera, et cetera. So we're grouping up a small number of startups that have, based on our market analysis, a common denominator. And these guys, what we do is we take them with us out to the market. We take them to our customers. If they have good technology for banking, we'll take them to the banks that we're working with. And those banks can be either in the US or in Europe or in Latin America, for instance. Same goes for any other technology that we are onboarding, or any startup that we're onboarding. The fact of the matter is that we are working with startups that are fairly solid. So we will not work with early stage startups. It's too much of a risk for us, but we will definitely work with round A and B and more progressed startups. And by that, we kind of like mitigating the risk of how, of maybe the startup will not be able to keep alive for long, or, it might, get in the way of our project instead of helping us to achieve the goals. So basically, I hope that, I've managed to sell. the elevator pitch, if you want it, is that while money is a commodity, if you have a good idea and you have a good, a solid founding team, you will be able to raise funds for your project. The problem of most of the startups, and by the way, I was not born in a corporate. I started some startups. Some of them were very successful. Some of them crushed and burned. But the thing is that market validation, the fact that you really know the market, or you think that you know, but then, when you go out to the market, you understand that what you thought was the problem was not really the problem. When you thought that you're going to meet the market at a certain point, you're kind of like missed that point and now you have to pivot. The market validation is something which is super important. We can give this in the highest level to our partners, to our startups.
Ben, who are your clients? Startups or corporations?
No. So our customers are large corporations from all over the world. We are an IT services company, a very big one, or the leading one, the leading in the world. We're a global leader in IT services. We're serving the biggest banks in the world. We're serving the biggest retailers in the world. We're serving we're working in 14 different industries, and we're working with the largest corporates in each of those industries.
Okay, so your clients are corporations, and you're looking for startups. Have you looked in for any startups in Russia? Have you found any startups in Russia?
So to be honest, no. We are participating in events such as this event in order to be able to look into the ecosystem in Russia. I understand that there is more than one. Our scouting capabilities currently in Russia is a bit limited, but I'm working for a larger organization within the company. I'm heading the co-innovation network. Due to the fact that we're a network, we are trying to spread as much as we can, both widely and deeply into the different ecosystems. The one in Russia, we're still taking our first steps, and there, this is also the reason why we're participating in such events, to get to know interesting startups that we can work with. Okay,
well, I guess that's an interesting take. Thank you. I'll give the floor to our other participants, and then we will continue with questions and answers. We'd like to focus today this discussion on the mistakes that both corporations and the startups make in their dialogue. So think about it. Right. I'll come back to you with these questions. You can make a list while the others are presenting. Natalia Martimyanova, руководитель команды
the representative of X5 Group. One of my acquaintances worked in Magnet and he failed. How are you? What about X5 company? How are you doing now? Good afternoon. My name is Natalia Martimyanova. I'm responsible for scouting of innovations in X5 Group. We are doing scouting systematically for 5 years. And how does it look like? It's continuous scouting. It's not like Accelerator. There are several formats. Continuous scouting, when we are always looking for startups, for evaluation of technological innovations from Russia and abroad. We also conduct vertical scouting when we take one business unit or function. We intervene them, gather their needs and points of growth. And for them, we are looking for innovative solution at the market. This allows us to focus on use cases for corporations. And then we will look at the solutions at the market. And also we have a collaborative innovations when together with other innovations, we are looking for startups and take ideas from there. And the use case is expanding from outside, and we validate it then. The goal of our scouting is implementation of technologies which could bring economic effect. We don't invest to startups, we implement technologies and we implement them into business processes. So there are two major drivers. And first of all, when we launch the project and evaluate it, we pay attention to the following: how these technologies will affect us. This can be driver of sales or reduction of costs. And here, when we launch the pilot, we have the main work promoting of business hypothesis for the pilot. And then we try to understand how we'll fit in this technology and business process. What's important here, if we speak about successful pilot, we define business process, we have the support of business owner. It's important that the customer likes it and believes in it. And also, at the start, we should understand the potential of scale-up, because if the pilot is considered to be successful, so it's important for us to implement this technology quickly and to have the economical effect. So it increases our belief in this, if we understand that this technology works in such conditions with such an effect, it has such limitations. In this case, we can set up pilots quicker and implement this quicker further in all shops for the whole part of the business process. And for example, annually, how many pilot projects do you have? Dozens of large projects, and half of them are going into the implementation stage. Maybe 5, 4 per year implementation, even more, maybe more than 10. At the start of the hopper, there are 1,000 startups. We analyze their business. We get a business case. These are pilots. Good. And is your compensation linked with the success of implementation? Yes, of course. The goal of the whole Department of Innovation is to have an economical effect from implemented technologies. When you speak with the director, and you say to him, I have a project, let's implement this. We already have business processes, fast track, when there is a very clear procedure. We gather a business case, very understandable parameters, business process. We show how we'll work. We choose strategically significant things. We gather this in the business case, and we do this for the pilot. Okay, thank you. Natalia Mentus, Executive Director of Center of Financial Technologies Development, Rossельхозbank. Does it work? Hello, everybody. I want to say about what we are doing in Rossельхозbank. We are also doing accelerators and work with innovations. But this is not only the bank. It's the bank of agriculture, mostly. That's why we support agro startups. And maybe it's not so popular, not like fintech, but still, nevertheless, last year, we had $52 billion in agrotechnical industry, and we want to spread agrotechnical startups. That's why we conduct our accelerator in two directions. The first direction, we are looking for services classical for bank services. And now we have the first the three startups. We want to develop our loyalty program. Those who follow FinTech, you know these companies very well. Also, we are looking for agro-tech startups. We implement them into our ecosystem, which is called Svoyo. It means your own. When farmers can find the platforms for themselves, can find products and technologies for themselves. Marketplace. We have when you can buy tasty farmers products, and we have startups. We feed them into our system. For example, here we can have mapping of the area. For example, now we also implement robots into the marketplace. Svoyo, родное, your own native, and so here we have a lot of intellectual tasks. People should solve intellectual tasks, and operative tasks should be given to technologies. That's why year after year we are having these accelerators, and this year we are also planning to launch by the end of the year. We want to attract partners from agriculture, and we'll have pilots. So we are also conducting pilots. We don't have fast track yet, and as my one acquaintance said, if you want to work with the government, you should suffer a little bit. But we are a state bank, that's why startups which can go to our ecosystem, we are not quick, but still there will be results. We toil a lot, and we also in a while will go to some quicker, comfortable fast tracks as colleagues have, because this is what we are striving for. What else are we doing? We have a separate system, AgroCode Hack. This is annual hackathon where developers and analytics make up solutions of complex technological tasks of agro industry. And we are always looking for young and talented specialists. We have data science, the world competition for students and young specialists. This year, we are developing the work on support of agro-tech startups. And in brief, I can say what is agro-tech. Agro-tech hub, these are unmanned vehicles, accurate, precise agriculture, IoT in agriculture, for example, sensors in poultry, in birdhouses, and the sensors try to measure the temperature. If a chicken is warm, it also gives good eggs. So also there are many marketplaces, and this is very active for investment. If you want to invest, the marketplaces for food tech are quite good. Last year there was very much money invested. We speak about startups. We find investors, and we have a pool of investors in agro-technologies. This summer we help to do cases, and if the solution of startup is packed and it can be already implemented, so we can have this on our platforms. So we work not only for internal innovations, but also for developing of agro-tech startups and implementing these startups in corporations. Also, we have a Telegram channel. We are speaking there about agro-technologies, and we publish our digest. We're working a lot at analytics. We hope to popularize this direction. 150 startups, it's a good figure, especially in agro-tech. It's far and few behind. Yes, and thanks to our colleagues from Skolkovo, we gathered a lot of agro-tech startups. We have digital site in each direction. It is well structured. You can find startups, you can look for it, and then we'll expand information there. So you can contact us also, and we also invest. So there are a lot of opportunities. Remarkable. It's necessary. It's a very good initiative, strategical initiative. And this tasty and healthy food, we always lack it. I am really admired by your efforts. I hope we'll continue our discussion. Now I would like to give the floor to Renata Dzhordzh, the MKB representative, the head of the management team. The bank. What about bank? How do you work with innovations? Okay, just a few words about myself, because I don't like to do self-promotion, but still, we created an innovative hub in the end of the last year. So we are just only starting, but still one of its element is venture platform, which consists of venture foundation, venture studio, and accelerator. What do I want to speak about? I want to ask colleagues about this. I want to give a definition what accelerator is, because I came to Russia less than 1 year ago. I lived in the USA, in the Silicon Valley, and worked there as a venture investor. And I faced here that understanding of accelerator, corporate accelerator, is different. Islam, can you give a definition of a corporate accelerator? Okay, it's good that I don't really I'm not really into accelerators. Accelerator is something that helps to develop startups. It has a lot of services, not only money. And corporate accelerators are always busy with implementation. And you can understand it that this is one specific way of purchase and also scouting. If you have equity, so this is similar to a usual accelerator. And what about Silicon Valley? Okay, so here it's not really important that we have to do as it's in the Silicon Valley, but Russia has its own way always. That's why I just want that we need one common language. Let's separate incubators and accelerators. In Russia now we don't use this term. Incubators are those, is from X we have chicks from the zero to the first traction, for example. Let's support it. Please, let's support incubators from zero to chicks. Who is in favor of it? Okay, it's quite an embarrassing situation. And secondly, these are accelerators from chicks to young chickens already. I like agro-tech industry, that's why I like such comparisons. These accelerators, we work we help accelerators, we help them to improve products, improve personal skills of the team, development of partnerships. Accelerators do this in general. And when we speak about fast tracks on implementation, it's not really correct. Maybe it's not so important how we call it. Because startups come to me and they say, we need a pilot. And I say, okay. But we had an accelerator in MKB which had the program of piloting. And when we started to organize this structure, we spoke using different language. Sometimes startups come only to pilots, but there are some other startups which need development, growth, promotion, and really they need acceleration, not only pilot. And these are different things. It's different than piloting and just implementation. Do you agree with me, colleagues? Yes, excellent. So coming back to accelerators of MKB, our accelerator, which we do for external entrepreneurs, consists of several blocks. The starting block, no equity, we are doing the program for starters. It's free. development of skills of entrepreneurship. Then we proceed, that's the second stage, startups which already have products, MVP, some kind of traction, and no equity. And here we try to help them to accelerate with already current products, to develop partnership, and we help them to improve quality of product.
And after that, after the accelerator, if you want to do it, then you can request an investment. We stand ready to discuss it. It's an additional area of our processes. And the implementation happens in parallel. We have quite a wide range of opportunities and a lot of competencies. And we do have a fast track, like our colleagues, just like our colleagues have from X5 group. So we do both piloting and the implementation. When the implementation is going, then we can become partners or customers. Okay, right, that's it from my side. Thank you. Thank you very much. And at what stage it's best for a startup to go to you, to approach you? The ready solution or half-ready solution or just no solution? Well, startups can approach us at any stage, being at any stage. I was one of the investors of the 500 Accelerator in the Silicon Valley, and I do know the program that they offered to their startups, and we also have a similar program in Russia, actually. Unfortunately, this program in Russia isn't going anymore, and we can actually replace this accelerator and even make it better. I think that we can't just copy one product from one market to another market and see it's launching. That's not right, because still there are a lot of different topics that are not covered yet, but that are important for a Russian entrepreneur, such as the public speaking, confidence, communication, networking, etc. I think that the Russian entrepreneurship market really needs that. So I'm not joking when I'm saying that startups can just approach us with just an idea, nothing else. That's okay. And we do have some stages at which we can already work with a half-ready product. For example, we can provide startups with different tools such as trackers and many others. And we have a venture studio, and we can invest as little as 50,000 USD. I'll still be mentioning the figures in USD. So we are taking the stages pre-Series A, Series A, and Series A+, where we can invest up to 3 million USD. And we don't like private equity deals very much, but sometimes within the import substitution, they are also coming to us, so we stand ready to consider. Okay, and Natalia, do you teach startups how to do networking and pitching in your accelerator at X5? Well, actually, we don't call our activities an accelerator because we don't actually accelerate our startups. We are taking startups with at least a prototype, but preferably with a ready solution. Well, right, so I also thought, why do we need to teach startups to do networking? You, as companies, already need to implement and gain profit. So, Renata, why do you teach startups networking? Well, a no-equity accelerator with some humanitarian function of training is available and affordable only for corporations. We are very lucky that we are being supported by our bosses, and we can actually create an entrepreneurship school in Russia. And we can invest some corporate money to expand the number of cool entrepreneurship in Russia. This is not rocket science. Great, thank you very much. And once again, what technologies are you searching for? Like, what are you looking for? For our accelerator? Right. We don't actually have any focus. We have the humanitarian purpose. So everything that we could share when it comes to tools, we are ready to share everything. We focus on fintech, SaaS and platforms. So our focus is everything SaaS. Whenever you go, everywhere is SaaS. But once again, I'd like to mention that we have a lot of companies in our portfolio, like medtech companies that are working in medicines, also some other large companies that are working in retail. We look at medtech and biotechnology and retail when it comes to the relevant fields. Okay, so if you haven't decided yet whether to go to X5 or anywhere else, then go to MKB, Moscow Credit Bank, MCB. Still, I wanted to ask about the accelerator. Like, there are different development institutions. There are a lot of free of charge accelerators. And a lot of cities, there are free accelerators, also supported by the Ministry of Digitalization, etc. I also have experience in launching corporate accelerators, not at Rossellhoz Bank, but still. But we've heard a lot of times that startups are not really interested in like training or learning. They just want to learn in practice. Okay, right. So, but there are different people, you know. We want to have as much entrepreneurs as possible. So we just are aiming at different audience, I believe. Right, because then they'll go to Islam, for example, and he'll tell the new startup, like, the unit economy doesn't work for you, and they'll ask him, like, and what is the unit economy? So Renata can explain that to them. Okay, so when it comes to support and grants and all this bureaucracy, well, it's a lengthy process. When I just came here, back from the US, I just created a survey on Facebook, and I just asked entrepreneurs what is the best accelerator. The best accelerator is the one that is not here in Russia anymore. So we will have to cover it with the import substitution. Okay, so I wanted to ask Islam after our previous speakers, because we've gone starting with accelerators, and now we are going to venture. So, for example, we have a startup that got a Skolkovo grant, won 3 pitch sessions. They've got golden medals, all the diplomas, certificates, etc. So now this mature startup needs at least 3 million of USD. Islam, could you provide such a startup with such money? Where should they search for the money for development? In this large MTS ecosystem, where are you located? How do you work? And whom do you help? Right. Grigory, thank you. Good afternoon. So, MTS is the mobile operator number 1, and we are a connectivity company. We adopted a strategy back in 2019. Just in simple words, we offer a multi-product portfolio with a connected customer journey. And whether to do it via like in-house or M&A, we still need some additional resources. And we are building an open ecosystem. Our partners are the companies that are not really far from us. I mean, they have something interesting for us, interesting for our customers, because we here act as a distributor. But at the same time, we are searching for something still new. I mean, we are not searching for some like mature companies just to go via M&A. So we want to be somewhere in the middle. We invest at quite a late stage as compared to the stages that were described previously. So just a standard deal for us is about 150,000. This is mainly A series for us with Russian companies. This is about the companies that got about 80 million of revenue in rubles. So when we talk about corporations, then our experience is that an accelerator or any other format that is not connected with equity, with any strategic exposure, are quite limited with the results that they can give us. It's closer to HR, PR, culture creation, awareness in the market. But since there is no strategic element in it, I mean, in known equity formats, then the result is still quite limited. In the beginning, it's fine, but the more mature business leaders and the procurement procedures and all the other procedures are, the less help they need. Less help, I mean, in the form of a fast track or an accelerator. So we offer still like a high-risk investment. This is a centralized activity for us. MTS Bank is the second growing MTS business. In our portfolio, we have 6 companies, 2 of which are fintech companies. They're connected to the financial market. And we enable this partnership based on their market conditions, but we want to have a friendly partnership. This is connected to the trust towards our corporation. If a corporation makes any new product, but we are lacking some competencies, we can't do it on its own. And for example, we are using white label, then the share, the equity, makes our partnership quite reasonable. It can also be added by a larger marketing budget, but we can have an equity upside. For example, we can earn like 50 million of rubles. That's nice, of course. But when it comes to multipliers of MTS, we don't really earn a lot on our startups. So, for example, if we have 15% or 20% in a startup, then we can get some additional revenue from our startups, in addition to our own P&L. So this is not something new, because venture capital has been there for quite a while, and it's been growing dynamically. About 30% of all venture money is CVC, excluding the money that corporations invest via independent funds. This is a multi-billion industry. In general, everybody has seen that it's working, and it's loss-free, innovative instrument. Because if we take a look at the direct ROI, like if a company invests hundreds of millions of rubles in some innovation, then probably the ROI wouldn't be very good here. But our model helps us to address this problem. So we've come up with something that is working. We combine our investment goals we want to earn on our portfolio, and also we choose the like relevant deals for us. Either we experiment when we can create some business that MTS will buy and acquire, something of interest for us in the future. Or We also support partnerships where we have a commercial contract and we support this contract with our deal, so it's present across the whole world. Okay, so you have an ecosystem, a huge ecosystem like a startup hub and something else, right? That's right. How does it look like? Like which startups should go where? Just if we take a zoom out, then this is about non-organic growth tools. First, M&A, it's always been there. We also have some major deals like with the Urent. I think we're talking like 600 or 800 million rubles. In MTS, we call it all M&A. So it's approved by the board because it's a strategic deal for us. Then we are a centralized and a proactive tool. We create a portfolio of venture companies, those that are relevant for us. It covers everything except for AI. Because when it comes to AI, there is another fund led by Mr. Hanin. This is the Center of Artificial Intelligence. So this is a separate tool. These are the main three tools that we make use of. Well, like all the formats like NSP, M&A, acquisition. It is in our portfolio of venture investors. As of now, we've been noticing that corporations have just a short-term vision because the person who actually makes the decision has a quarterly based KPI. Of course, they are about vision in a long-term perspective, but still the KPI are there. Nobody wants to spend money and time on something not relevant. And in MTS, we saw and noticed that the more mature solutions and products with millions of millions of revenue are quite valuable to us as well. Because even if an idea is great, but it's still very raw one, it just emerged, then it will take a startup quite a long time to get some revenue. So it's good to approach us when you already have some customers. So as I said, our benchmark is a revenue from 3 to 5 million rubles per month. Okay, great. So now we are approaching the season of school graduation and university acceptance processes. We know that those who study well at school get some preferences. Do you have any preferences for startups? What are the criteria that you use? Well, we just assess the profitability primarily. So, a PR is not an instrument. Pitch sessions and competitions are quite useful. We also attending them. But a pitch session is one of the tools to market yourself. We have good brand, good presence. People come to us. And by the way, I'm for initiatives that would develop this market. In general, we lack startups in Russia. We've seen some of them like 3 times, maybe 4 times. We would really like to see more startups in Russia. Pitch sessions are one of the tools to discover new ones. But we are really discoverable, so to say. It's really easy to find us, I mean MTS and our fund. So we attend pitch sessions, but this is just a marketing element. Should there be any synergy with MTS business? Yes, so basically there are 2 formats. Why do we close our deals? First, if we want to have some commercial partnership in the market, and it's very good when it's added by the equity deal. So we want, for example, to support the partnership. It is one of the forms of the synergy you asked about. The second form is more experimental. There is no direct synergy. What I mean is that, well, next month, you won't be able to produce some synergy KPIs and numbers. But one needs to remember that we are a B2C company, so 90% of our services are for our B2C customers. So we are focused at something that we can afterwards offer to our B2C customers, like EV or something else. We believe that that's important, that's a huge story, it's important for our customers, and it should stand alone. It shouldn't be similar to any other services. So we had such a deal 2 years ago, but in that deal there wasn't any synergy from the beginning, for example. So we are taking an individual approach here. For example, no clear synergy right now, but maybe we'll make a pivot and then we will have some synergy with our startups. Okay, so my advice is to just approach pitching pitch sessions as a rehearsal, to be able to just position yourself. Okay, great, thanks a lot. And now, one more question, then we'll go back to Ben. So, Natalia, how can startups know what problems do you have at X5? Like, what are your pain points? What is your approach? For example, you just see startups coming to you and saying, like, we have this, maybe you need it. Well, we take different approaches. Sometimes startups can share with us some insights which are interesting to us. But if a startup just comes to us with a solution, then our main task, the task of our scouting team, is to delve deeper into that and understand whether we can apply it in X5. That's why we are talking to our different departments, teams, and chains, so to say. We want to make a use case and understand whether it's fitting for us or not. We also analyze some needs and we tell about it on our websites. We also do some scouting, meaning that we just announce that we are searching for these and those solutions for example, HR, for retail, and for something else. And indeed, the results are very good because this is a structural approach. And do you help a startup to implement the product, or do you do anything else in addition to the implementation? So we are searching for this use case jointly with our startup. So this is about brainstorming when we say, okay, where can we apply this technology to, in offline or in online business? We had some cases when, for example, we were discussing how to make use of the startup's products, but in accordance with our use case. Okay, thanks a lot. And Natalia Mendes, the question goes to you. Are you actively working with startups? And how fast do you respond to the applications, like in 3 months or in 5 months? We are very active. We have a Telegram community. You can approach us very easily via our Telegram community. You can also email us, or all our contacts are actually available, so we support fast dialogue. We also want to see the cases as fast as possible, but as to agri-tech, we are really fast in responding, as opposed to the bank. And when it is about startup for our bank, then the process is more lengthy or longer, so to say. So how can startups learn about your problems, your pain points? How can they get this information? Via our accelerator, actually. So we gather our needs and then transfer them to our accelerator, or we tell about our needs via our accelerator. We also organize hackathons. One can also approach us with some suggestions. We will definitely take a look at it and see whether it's relevant. Okay, and thank you. Renata, you have a very unusual format, and I do hope that it will be successful. But how do you measure your KPIs, efficiency? The efficiency of your accelerator, of your venture studio, what was the right way to call it, actually? How do you measure your success? Well, our profession is risk. That's why we are taking risk in everything. Right, but do you measure the financial indicators or anything else, like coverage? Right, so just yesterday we were sitting here and discussing this question at the Startup Village. For each of the products that we work with, first I would like to mention that Innovation Hub works as a startup. We are working as a startup, and we learn to do it. So, when we have an entrepreneur, they have the passion project that they love, etc. So we are sticking to the same approach. When we analyze our startups, well, it depends. We have non-equity. There we have NPS. What is an NPS? It is Net Promoter Score. The level of satisfaction, if we translate it into Russian. Well, the content part of the accelerator has devalued a little bit, because most of the topics, either in Russia or in the US, are the same. They don't change quite a lot. So how to create a startup? Today we're answering the same question. And when Natalia says that they're listening to the same things from different startups, that's right, that's the reality, indeed. When it comes to product management, it's a rare thing that we can learn something new about how to deal with this. So like in any educational program, we have problems with the completion rate. So this is another indicator by which we can measure our efficiency, completion rate of the program. From the very beginning, we think that we need to provide for the involvement of an entrepreneur into our program. If the program is boring for the entrepreneur, then we haven't done our job well. So as to the fund, by the way, I'm helping you to close your deal with IRA. So, getting back to the topic, we were hoping that it will become an international case. Now it's on hold. I think that it'll end at some point of time, but we don't know when. So now the idea of investing in a startup that will become an international with a multiplication of 100x, this is not relevant for us anymore. We are now taking a look at the dividends models. We do understand that a startup will not definitely or for sure be profitable. Maybe it will be only break even. But if it can replace an international product, or if it's an innovation, if it's a breakthrough, then we are okay with the fact that maybe a startup will not be profitable, but it will also not be at least loss-making. Like breaking even for us is okay if it's innovative or if it's about import substitution. Okay, great. Very interesting models that we are hearing about from our corporations. Approach them. Try to understand what are the problems that they try to address, adjust your activities, make your turns, turn your solutions to be relevant for these corporations, continue your development with the help of our accelerators and investors. Now I'd like to get back to Ben, if Ben is still with us, and I would like to ask Ben.
Hi, we're coming back to you.
I'm here.
You probably heard we've discussed several corporate models for accelerators. Your clients are corporations. What mistakes do corporations make working with startups?
Wow, there is a large spectrum of mistakes that corporations are making when they're working with startups, by the way, and also vice versa. The first thing that people need to understand, and mainly entrepreneurs that are not coming in, from the corporate world about corporates, is that corporate, at the end of the day, is structured from different people. These people have different motivations. Sometimes they don't like each other. There is a lot of politics in big corporates. And this is something that startups needs to be completely aware of when they're selecting, let's say, a champion within a large organization in order to take them into the organization and go all the way from POCing their technology to really live deployment of their technology. So this is the side of the startups. One more thing that startups needs to understand about corporates is that sometimes they just make natural moves, or what would be, a natural move to a corporate. I usually, the analogy that I give is like, a fly that is sitting on a horse's back. Sometimes the horse just lash their tail, and they do it because this is what horses do. They lash their tail. But if you're, in an unfortunate situation, and you are the fly that sits on the back of that horse, it can kill you. And the horse did not do it for any specific reason, mainly not by intention, but it happens. On the other way around, corporates need to make sure that when they're getting into a project with startups, they look into how they can reduce the different risks that are involved in working with startup. One thing is like, try to understand how solid this startup is from, let's say, financial perspective. In some cases, and we've seen it, by the way, this is based on experience. There are startups that are coming in with a great technology solution, which can be very exciting for a corporate. But if you look a little bit behind, you see that they're kind of like running on fumes. They exhausted all of their funds. And they're struggling. By the way, a startup is always, the startup always struggle. But there is a difference between like running on fumes and struggling to get the next customer. And this is very important for corporates because you might start something, you will invest energy, you will invest time, you will invest resources and obviously money, and you will end up with nothing. By the way, this is also where we come in as a large system integrator. When we bring in startups for our customers, we are acting first off as the responsible adult, and we are kind of like the cushion between the corporate and the startups. We're doing our due diligence on those startups. We're looking at what they were doing, whether there's any international references that they can give us. What is if they're willing to tell us what is their annual revenue. If not, we have our own intelligence tools to understand exactly how they're, or not exactly, but more or less how they're doing, how well they're doing. And this is our way to reduce those risks for our customers, while we're bringing technology companies to work, young, I would say, technology companies, startups to work with them.
Great, thank you very much. Now we will discuss the mistakes that the startups make, and I'll turn this question to our panel. Thank you very much. Конечно же, мне кажется,
and I think we live now with Ben in different paradigms because so the corporations there compete with each other for the best startup, and many corporations make mistakes when they invest too much money into startups, but we have a reverse situation. We need to find a startup which can do something. That's why startups come. But in X5, Natalia, you've said that you have 1,000 startups and you select some of them, maybe dozens or several dozens. What is wrong? Why don't hundreds of startups, why can't they go? Can you give advice? First, relevancy of our need. So for us, we need to understand where and how we should fit this in. This is the first thing. Then maturity of the product and whether it's ready to be scaled up. So we have to understand that it's quite a mature product and we can pilot it. And ideally, we can choose the products which can we can really scale up. Experience and the cases of different industries. So the last thing which is important at the stage of preliminary analysis, so one of the most important factors of successful pilot, this is the team result. So here, IT, lawyers, different departments, and experience, which we are speaking about. It's good that startups have experience from the corporation side, but these processes were not slowed down. The speed of interaction, understanding. And mutual understanding, transparency of communication is needed for success. Natalia, and do you have such cases? Then they come and they increase, some quality of your product, but then you understand that it doesn't work. Yes, we had such cases. Startups said, we have this and that, we'll do it, everything you want at the stage of expertise and selection. But then when we get to the pilot, we understood that they don't have this and that. This is quite unconscious, and you don't want to interact with them further. And these minuses they have at the initial stage, that's the lack of uniqueness of the product, for example, chatbot, and you can't understand how they are different from others, which I already looked through. I can't understand why you are better, what is your competitive edge, and this is first what you always ask for. Please show the comparison with competitors, something that competitors don't have. And you can, so with the resources, and also a value proposition. What sometimes unclear and obscure. What effect do you want? Okay, how much money? It's also unclear sometimes, but you can agree upon it. But what do I get? Many startups say, please think yourself what you get from me. But it doesn't work like this. You should come and you should speak about your benefits. And the third problem is that some people can't explain in simple words what is the essence of the product. They start to think about things, about functions, about ideas of creation, but not about the essence of the product. And when you start to understand how it works, you understand that behind beautiful words there are no product at all, or it's very raw in MVP, even not MVP, and still you have to ignore it. So when you go to a corporation, you need understanding of the product, how it's different from competitors, that it is different, and what a corporation can get from you, what business effect it will have. in this case, you can like each other. You can work together. Can you learn on startup how to explain the value of their products? Yes, yesterday I spoke about this at the panel discussion. I'm often asked how do I select startups at the early stages, how to analyze them, because sometimes they have only idea. And MVP, I have dozens of criteria. Yesterday I published them in the Telegram. And the first criteria is your clear ideas in pitch. So pitch, it's about your structure. So any complex product can be explained by simple language. A problem is often easier to explain. You take a problem, and you should solve it on the basis of this basis. You explain it, and I also recommend to everybody. I like Twitter, and so I can formulate my thoughts briefly. Thanks to Twitter, I have the skill. If you want to, you want to have good speeches, go to Twitter, VPN and Twitter. Okay, distinctive thoughts are very important. Islam. And as a conclusion, I would like to ask you the question. The presentation is good, but sometimes you look at the financial model, and there are some things you can see that a person can't understand anything, and this is like an accounting report, and we try to explain that this is financial model and a business plan. It's an illustration of your company development, your strategical thought. In your financial model, did you have such cases? And can you give a list of components how to get money from you? Speaking about financial model, I can say that I'm not like it so much. Isn't it so important? I think that at the stages, traction is more important, and people are more important, and so on. But at the stages, but at later stages, of course, there should be more understanding where you spend money, and sometimes this is the question of. So there are business models, for example, Ecoma. If you calculate wrongly, in this case, you can't get the result. But there are some other models which are marginal, and plus-minus calculations, you still will be. You will get benefit from this company. Venture foundation, and here everything is standard. So the first filter, and this is a strategical filter, so-called, and this can be a partnership story or maybe some relevant fit. And the rest is very standard, the market, the team, competitiveness, and unity economy, especially in our segments, consumer segments, and conditions of the deal. Excellent. Now let's conclude our final discussion. We have only 1 minute left. Maybe we can ask questions afterwards. There are different models. Huawei has only technologies, nothing else we're interested in. We are not interested in business or market. But Renata can teach you a lot of things. She can forgive some mistakes and will show how to overcope with them. Call them X5. Colleagues, Natalia, she has a big coverage, hopper of startups. You can always go there and try to do something if you position yourself right. And then in Moscow Credit Bank. There is a difficult direction, and there are lots of things to do. Please come. Please, let's communicate. All our panel discussion speakers are available in social networks. Try to understand what problems you need to solve, position your solutions in accordance with their needs. Thank you and goodbye. And thanks to Ben for his...
Сделан из старых забытых вещей, из ночи и дня без обмана, из порванных струн и разбитых идей, из холода и тумана. Ты соткан из дыма и верных друзей, и разных незыблемых истин, из горя и радости света теней. А может, из чьей-нибудь мысли. Ты сделан из старых ненужных вещей, оставленных кем-то на входе. Ты сделан из очень хороших людей, и тебе это очень подходит.
Стартап Хаб. Работа с реальным бизнес-заказчиком МТС. Доступ к ресурсам самого крупного телеком-бренда в России. Не можешь поверить? А в твой стартап обязательно поверят. У нас есть все, что тебе понадобится. Ресурсы, клиенты, технологии, каналы продаж. Мы оценим твой продукт, правильно применим в своем бизнесе и масштабируем на мировой рынок. МТС Стартап Хаб ждет тебя и твоих нереальных бизнес-идей.
ВК-звонки доступны везде и без ограничений. В 4К и с активным шумоподавлением. Будьте всегда на связи в ВК-звонках.
Встречайте приложение ВК-клипы. Удобный видеоредактор. Уникальные маски и эффекты. И стильные фильтры для обработки. Еще быстрее, проще, вертикальнее. Теперь в отдельном приложении ВК-клипы. Место встречи талантов.